All right. Hey, y'all. Bama Law back. My name is Chris. I'm a practicing attorney for over, I think I'm getting up to 13 years now. Um, God, I'm getting old. Damn, that's not good. Um, anyway, apparently, for whatever reason, people like these videos about serial killers. I don't. Yes, it's interesting. It is an interesting topic. Yes, they are interesting. Um, I, I'm not even sure if that's really the word to use. They are interesting in that they exist and we need to find out what drives them. Um, aside from that, yeah, I don't want to know about their crimes. I get sick of it. But they're not going to. They're not going to go away. They've always been there. So we might as well learn from the best that we can. And unfortunately, this wonderful man smiling at you, that it's like half shaven, 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah. Um, unfortunately, did this over 40 times. Um, and actually helped. I don't want to say, well, he gave the profile and the standard for the FBI and I think it's Kings County Sheriff's Office in Seattle to catch Gary Ridgway. Like before he died, he told them they had already spoken to him. Turned out they had spoken to him not once, twice. They had talked with him. Um, his profile was better than the FBI's. Why? Because he's a killer. This is what he did. He's a evil person. He was an evil human being. And these are tapes that were, I believe, done by a detective. I don't say his name wrong. Kepler, I think, Kings County. Done in the hopes of trying to find some of the victims. No one was gonna, he was already on death row. He was not going to be. Um, he had to have known he wasn't going to get a pardon or commutation in order to help. So why he did it, I don't know. But I think it's interesting in that we look at it or listen to it. It is audio tapes, cassette tapes. For those of you that don't know what it is, Google it. To learn how, or to listen how he discusses what he did, because he does it in a very weird way. He's trying. It's like he's doing everything he can not to implicate himself, but he's still trying to help, or I don't want to say help, give information. So he does it in like a third person. Very interesting. I don't know why. So I can adjust my light here. Um, it's interesting. That's why he did it for why he did it. I don't know. Yeah, I can't get these lights. I tell you, they are a pain in the ass to deal with on YouTube. Anyway, I thought we would listen together, and I've heard most of these, I believe. Well, I've heard most of the ones that have been published, put it that way. This one I don't believe I have, and I think these are splices. So we're going to go from, like, I don't know, part of tape 1 to part of tape 2 and 7, and it's not the whole thing. He had a ton of hours on these, ton of them. And remember, Ridgway was killing up until about 2001 when he was caught. So this was still active. This was not an active case that they just needed help to try to solve. It's anyway, be that as it may, let's get to it, and I'll listen with you. All right, please hit share, subscribe. I hate having to say this. God, it's all I ever hear, and it's because of the algorithm. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me whatever you want to tell me in the comments. Don't care. That's fine. Just let me know. Plus, it allows me, I don't mind being critiqued. I don't get offended very rarely, or very rarely do I get offended. So, just let me know something. I'd appreciate it. Guys, look, I hit like on almost, if I've watched a video for more than a few seconds, chances are even then I'm going to hit like, because I want that person to at least, they put in work. I at least want them to get some sort of algorithmic boost. Yeah, sometimes I get weird suggestions from the boob tube gods. It's like, what the hell? I don't want to watch this crap. And it's just, that's how it works. You're not going to save yourself from it. This is what they do. So this is boob tube for you. Okay. All right, let's watch together. Thanks for joining me.
I'm now struggling to put it in order. I may not be coming across as very precise about this, but let me try to make sense of what I'm saying. How he would stake out a scene would obviously depend on the scene. I mean, but you can be sure one thing: when he comes into an area, he's going to come in like any guy returning to the scene of any crime. Obviously, very, very careful. This guy's very wary. He's going to be looking for anything out of shape. And so, I mean, I would, if I were undertaking surveillance of this kind of scene.
He's already, you can already hear the missteps in his voice. If I, if I were to,
You found the body. You've done everything possible to make sure no word about it got out. That would be an undertaking in and of itself. And I realize that this runs contrary to the basic nature of every detective out there. I mean, the first thing we want to do is just rush in there and cordon off the area, do hands and knee searches, and pick up threads and everything else. I think there comes a time in an investigation like this one where you got to take some chances. And this would be one of them. And I would, like I think I sent a team in to surreptitiously look at the scene, photograph it, making sure that they weren't seen from a roadway or anything, and then come in under cover of darkness and remove the body as carefully as possible, if it wasn't seen from the roadway. So you would preserve any evidence there.
Oh.
And then just simply, because
I thought he said he would he, third person, royal we, would remove the body. No, he's talking about the police come in at night, make the guy think that nothing's happened. Make him think nothing's happened. We ain't found nothing. Nobody's found squat. And lure him in. And then if he's not the one doing it under cover of darkness, you do it under cover of darkness. That's almost impossible because you can't process the scene. But that's not the point he's coming across. The point is he's trying to catch him red-handed. Hey, what you doing back here, man? People don't come back to hang around with. People don't come out to just look at bodies, especially random places that no one knows there is one. Only the killer. So,
like a lot of these victims were off the road. I don't know how far they were carried off the road, and if they couldn't be seen by the road, if somebody would stop their car either right at the scene or maybe half a mile away and walk in, by the time he reaches that point where the body should be and it's not there, and he says, "Uh-oh," he should already be onto him. All right, even if anybody walking in the area has obviously got to be approached by somebody in the surveillance team, saying, "What are you doing here? We're looking for an escaped convict. Show us some ID," something like that. But believe me, I tried to be as emphatic as I could with this guy and guys in similar crimes and going back to the scenes. I mean,
well, there's been obviously a hell of a lot of scenes. Would you then perceive that the most recent find, of course, we don't always know that the most recent find is in fact chronologically correct with his activities, because find number 35 actually may have occurred back between homicide 13 and 15, but we just don't know because.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the fresher the find, the more likely he'll be back. I mean, I don't think he's going back to see skeletal remains, although I'm not, you can't be, I wouldn't say for certain, no, he wouldn't be. But you asked how long it would be. And I think, again, I'd have to look at the list of dates to get an idea of the pattern in which he was just depositing the bodies at these various sites. But I wouldn't be discouraged if I were to sit on a site for, several weeks and nothing happened. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Just because he doesn't show up doesn't mean he won't. I mean, obviously there's going to be limits. And let's see, some of the bodies are found up in the mountains along Highway 410 up by Auburn.
Here, I don't know if he's talking about the Green River Killer, because Ridgway only got that name because I believe his first 5 victims were actually found in that river in Seattle. Um, and then he started doing a lot of. They changed their sites. They can. They may keep it in a local vicinity, but then they'll change it up. It's. I think everybody's interested in this stuff because they want to know why why the boogeyman? Why does he exist? It's so alien to us. But I think I don't know which one he's referring to, himself in this context, or is he talking about Ridgeway? I don't know.
Yeah. Enumclaw, which is up by the mountains. It's a small town just before you go up into the mountains. And it's interesting that you go up there. But I don't know. Some of the bodies are fairly close to the roadway, but I'm not sure they were seen. They could be seen from the roadway, the skeletal remains. But in a remote location like that, surveillance becomes a real challenge because there aren't that many people to blend in with or human type or structures to be hit by. Nevertheless, I think it can be done. Because I think that there are times probably when the compulsion to return, to the scene of the crime. And I know that sounds.
Hang on, I gotta take a call. All right, Chris with Bamala, I'm back. I think we're going to be able to pick up where we left off. Let's hope so, because I had a freaking business call to take. Really sorry about that. Let me see. Well, if I can get it to work, that'd be great. I don't jump between tabs very well. I'm using a Mac, so. Okay, I think this is it.
Sounds like a cliche. We're not talking about the scene of the crime anyway. We're talking about a body. We don't know where the crime occurred. It may have occurred in his car. In all likelihood, it didn't occur where the bodies were dumped. Okay, but he's returning to see the bodies, and I imagine whatever drives him to do that, whether it's curiosity or a desire to make sure he didn't leave any evidence there, or just some kind of thrill, is probably strong enough to cause him to, while he's cautious, he's not going to be obsessively so. He's going to probably overlook, a hunter, a car parked along the side of the road, or a couple people on dirt bikes, maybe, but he's going to be alert as he can be, considering what he wants to do.
Would you have any feelings about how long he would stay?
I don't. I really don't. It would really depend on what he was up to. It could. Really. All I have to say, given my sense of this situation, is that he would go back, whether it be for 5 minutes or an hour. It doesn't appear that he's going back and, for instance, dismembering the victims. They all appear to be in one piece, or at least they were, until the animals got to them. Are you following me?
Sure. Is there a likelihood that he would take, I'm sure I'm asking this, but with so many victims, and perhaps the earlier victims when he began, he could perceive how many more there were going to be, maybe didn't know how long this need was going to be, this drive until finally fulfilled and satisfied or whatever.
I'm gonna cut in here. I found the guy. If I can get this to work. No, I don't want to sign in. Damn it, this thing is annoying. All right, I'm gonna share this tab. No, block. Stop. Leave me alone, you stupid freaking pop-ups. All right, I'm gonna share this tab. This is a article in Seattle Times. I just want you to get a picture of the guy and see what he did. Oh no, he died. Oh, that's horrible. The detective. It's Robert Keppel is his name. Oh man, I didn't know that. It was 3 years ago. Oh man. Let me share the tab. Here we go. Yeah, we're good. Robert Keppel, who spent his life chasing serial killers, including Ted Bundy and the Green River Killer, died at age 76. This is the guy that you're hearing interview Bundy. I believe so. I believe he was the only one that did do this. I could be wrong. I'm sure others did, but the one that took the most recordings was this guy. Let's see. King County Sheriff's Office, 1974. You got the Lake Sammamish murder. Yeah, founding member of the criminal task force. And then I'm trying to get to. Wow, that's a good. Canova, who helped lure Keppel away from King County Sheriff's Office, established Attorney General's criminal division, called him the most exceptional investigator I ever knew. Man, that's saying a lot. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But this is the guy here. I just thought it was good for context. You know, it's good to know. I hate to hear that he's passed away. It sucks, man. Yeah, Dave Reichert. He became the sheriff, Kings County, and I think he's into politics still now in the House or Senate in Washington, state of Washington. I'm almost positive. But when they caught Ridgway, Reichert was the one who was the sheriff at the time. He was also with Keppel, one of the original investigators in the 70s or early 80s. I think it was 84. Was it 84? I think it was 84. It was the first ones. Yeah, here we go. Then the head of Green River Task Force flew to Florida to spend 2 days talking with Bundy. Reichert, who would later go on to become county sheriff and serve 7 terms in the U.S. House of Rep, knew I was right. I knew he got into politics. Called Keppel a remarkable detective. So, yeah, this is pretty cool, man. I just thought it was good to. The guy needs to get his accolades, especially now that he's passed. He deserved it, and still does. He deserves it. I believe so. I'm sure he would have lived a little longer had he not had to go through all of that. So, Ridgway pled to 48 women. I'm sorry. I think he's up to 50. Almost positive on that too. So, all right, back to the audio. Get it to work. That would be great. I hate doing this stuff. I really apologize. Let me see. Where is? Here we go. Yeah. Okay. Now we're back. I'm not sure if y'all can hear me. Let me fix this again. Stupid thing. It's saying that it lost audio, and I have no way to check it on the fly, and I definitely don't want to do it all and have to go back and finish it or redo it. Share screen. You stupid piece of crap. Come on. Finally. Okay, there we go. That should do it. Let's hope it worked. All right.
Developing, he got down pat. Remember, this guy just didn't start from a running start. He started somewhere. His first murder victim was not the first woman found in that river.
Now he's talking about Ridgway.
She was.
Now he's talking about Ridgway.
And then, I feel really strongly about that. There's no question. He didn't just start. His first murder victim was not thrown in that river, in my opinion, and he'd probably been building up to it for some time. And if you look at the number of unsolved homicides of young women in the Pacific Northwest, prior to that time, they're all messed up. So you take your pick, which one might or might not be a precursor to the series that they call the Green River series officially. It didn't begin with the river, and it didn't end, in all likelihood, in December of '83, and there are probably a lot in between nobody knows about. It's known that they're on nobody's list. But he certainly the first one, if, for instance, that the young woman found, the first victim, I believe, found in the river, let's assume for a moment she's the first one, was a young woman who lived in the Tacoma area, which is south of Seattle. Actually, she wasn't from Tacoma. I think she was from the Tacoma area. She lived out of town, believed to be a prostitute. I think she was 16. She was believed to be involved in prostitution, which says perhaps she had traveled up the Pacific Highway South area, which would be about, a 30, 40-mile drive or a hitchhike or whatever.
He's referring, I believe, to SeaTac, which is what they called the Strip there in Seattle, where prostitution was rampant in the 80s.
I believe she didn't have a car. I don't know for sure. But there's also the possibility that she was, and I think you'd have to ask people up there. I think it'd be important to know where did this young woman hang out? She was the first of the official string of victims. And it always struck me as being rather significant that she was from Pierce County, because my pet theory, and it's only that, is that the guy, whoever he is, lived south of King County. Either in South King County or Pierce County or Thurston County. But
What criteria do you have for coming to that?
the way just the way the bodies start showing up, and it's just a sense. I can explain it, but it may not make sense to you. It may not satisfy you. The map. Just look at the map. I looked at the map of where the bodies were found, and when they disappeared, and I kept saying, they're drifting southwest, but they're all staying in King County. I mean, it's like he's at least they were for a long time until we found the ones in Portland. But initially, and those went way south. Talking about going south. But nobody went north. I mean, all the bodies drifted south, either a block or a mile or 2 miles, or they went southwest up into the mountains. It would be southwest of there. And yet, it seemed like for a time he was being careful to leave them in King County. But you notice those that were later found in Portland, went, as I say, way south. But none, at least none on the list, have been found in Pierce County, which is the county just south of King County, Tacoma. None that nobody will admit to. There are a couple, I understand, who fit the profile, but the authorities in Pierce County, it's my understanding, don't want them on the list.
I realize you've got other things to do today. What would your thumbnail sketch profile be?
Other things to do.
Have you already been asked that?
No, I haven't thought of it. So I had it's been so long since I thought of it. And I have thought about it.
Basically, we're talking about a man who has some social skills, who's comfortable amongst other people, who's obviously fairly intelligent, who's been able to...
No, he's not. Ridgeway's not that bright.
Maybe victims of opportunity, but he's out looking. He's got this urge within him. And he's able to approach them, remove them, do whatever. We're not sure what that is because of the conditions of the bodies, but obviously totally possess them. Be there when their last breath is spit out, dump them, and all this without being identified.
Yeah, well, he's given us a great deal of thought, both before, during, and after that period of time of July of '82 to December of '83. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say how old I thought he was or whatever, but he obviously has a great deal of time on his hands, because as intense as this guy was during that period, okay, I don't know who knows what he's doing now, but during that period he had to have a lot of time on his hands, because believe me, the frequency with which he was seeking and finding victims, he meant he was spending a lot more time looking for them, and now we know he was driving back and forth to Portland too. And as I vaguely recall, I plotted this out. the victims disappeared on every day of the week, virtually. I think. I think there was a slight preference for one couple days, but I can't remember that they disappeared daytime and nighttime. So the guy had a lot of time on his hands. So was he unemployed? Part-time employment? Because the condition of the bodies, it's hard to say. What if he took them home? And if he has a lot of time on his hands, I mean, does he live alone? Is another good question. Or does he have a family? But somebody who's taking that much time is probably fairly unattached. Not necessarily without a girlfriend or anything, but I doubt that he had a family as much time traveling as he was doing.
The funny part, it's not funny, but interesting note. That's exactly what happened with Ridgway. His cessation spanned quite a few years. Always happened when he got in a relationship. I think there was 2, and the last one he had a cold spot. I think relatively. I think there may have been 1 or 2 murders until he got caught, and he was married again. So keep that in mind. I mean, he's nailed it again. There is a reason for their cessation: jail, mental hospitals, which back then was more common, or some other reason. And there was another reason. So
I imagine that it would be very difficult for someone tied down with any day-to-day responsibilities during that period to handle all that activity. But I don't know if he likes country western music, or if his mother was a prostitute, or if he's 25 years older, or any of the more precise stuff that would be helpful. I mean, all I'm dealing with, though, remember, the only thing that I've seen are newspaper clippings that will send me, and the maps that show where the bodies were found, and a few lists that show when and where they disappeared from, where they were found. I mean, just really, really sketchy stuff. But probably it's an advantage, because I think sometimes, I know in my own life, when I have lots and lots of stuff that I have to digest, I tend to be more overwhelmed with it. And I can imagine that the guys who are in the investigation, the task force, look at the voluminous amount of information they have, and the files and the computer printouts, and they go, God, who can make sense of this? It must be overwhelming. But probably that's why someone in your position who doesn't have to do day-to-day stuff that can befuddle even a good investigator can give them insights and say, hey, have you thought of this? How about putting this and this together?
Right. We try to have that as our role. Of course, we want to make sure we're best as possible leading them in the right direction. Because as you mentioned earlier, you lead them astray, and you certainly hurt them when they help.
20 more, how about 20 more minutes?
We don't want you to miss lunch.
No, I've got no problem there. No, I was just saying, I need to get back and get my files together to see my experience this afternoon.
Sure. We've
did you say his apprentice?
But understanding you've got several appointments tomorrow, is that right?
Oh, all day tomorrow.
Yeah. So, yeah, if your attorney's coming in today or anyone else, we certainly don't want to take time away from other important people in your.
No, I can't. I don't. Yeah, right. I've got more than enough to, unfortunately, to think about. And
can I just some background now? Just to update us on where you're at, or what the.
Well, and what are you interested in?
Well, are you married presently?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this public information or something you don't want us to know, or I don't know?
Yes, it's public information, surely. We sat here with a tape recorder, just like you had, and I was saying, and they were saying, well, let's talk about, some of these crimes they suspected you of. And I said, well, I can't really talk about them. Well, how do you want to do it? They said, well, let's figure out some way we can talk about it. And we sat here and negotiated how are we going to do this. And it wasn't any deception involved at all. It was very deliberate. And they said, well,
This is why he did it in third person, which I'm not real sure would have helped him or not. But, his appeals are still ongoing at this time. So he's not wanting to talk about his own stuff because he didn't want to mess his appeals up. And that's normal. That's totally normal. Okay.
How about if we do it this way? That I said, well, I'm going to continue to maintain my innocence, but we can do it like based upon what I've read, I would speculate that this would be what might have happened. Okay.
Third person type of thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I'm going to talk in the third person. It was, I'm going to speculate about what I've read and do the same thing the police would do if they were trying to figure out what happened.
Reconstruct crimes, basic investigative strategy, right?
Right. And so that's basically what happened. They would say, okay, what do you think happened in Lake Sammamish? I said, well, first of all, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he did.
And then we go into this line, and they said, well, we don't like that because we read something and that doesn't really fit what the police know. I said, well, how if we do it? Okay, we'll do it this way. Okay. And I swear, if you actually sat down and listened to their tapes, you would hear a lot of this nonsense. Okay, and what I've got to tell you, I want you to be clear. That was not a nice thing to do. First of all, money makes people do things which are sometimes not right, and I think part of the problem with that was the money. And you put your finger on it, making money, especially off of this kind of thing, is really wrong. And I could never do it again because it just, when you get in this kind of thing for profit, it's just too many bad things happen. And it should, because you shouldn't be doing it. And it was wrong for us to sit here and coldly do what we did, because there are a lot of people out there who read this kind of stuff. And it just didn't work. It felt bad all the way along. And I look back on it as a learning experience. But I would just rather not say anything anymore than engage in that kind of cruel kind of speculation. And it was just a game, and it was wrong for us both, all of us to do it.
Bestseller?
Huh?
Became a bestseller. You're gonna make a hell of a
Well, we did correctly, I guess, anticipate the baser desires of people who oftentimes buy these books, who want to be titillated, or who want to have their prurient interests indulged. There are people who read these books for genuine reasons too, and unfortunately, I think more often than not, they're misled if that's what they're looking for. Because whoever has written any of these books does not know anything about me or what really happened. And I don't say that with any sense of being smug or anything. That's just the way we
well,
are.
you're an individual. How many people really know other people as well as yourself?
Sure.
There have been other people who have written books who contend that they've known you prior to any alleged criminal involvement, and that they feel that they know Ted Bundy. What are your thoughts on that?
But
They really have.
For that, to the extent that
I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, they had an opportunity to, and they certainly have genuine access. For example, there's access
Is that
to.
too hot?
No, it's always cold.
Okay.
No, you don't have to worry about that. No, the access to me was really very superficial. She's in her own way, under certain conditions, a very nice person. I have no animosity toward her, but there's no question she grossly overplayed what was a passing acquaintance. And all we did was have our shifts at a colon crisis. Oh, I remember. No, I remember very clearly. But she had absolutely no basis to write a book the way I understand she did, or claim that, that in her own way she knew me. It would be like if you were to have a coworker and you were to work beside them for a couple hours a day for 6 months, and then they would go away, and then they would write a book all about you. that's that's what happened. That person wouldn't know you anymore. My former fiance, girlfriend, friend, and what have you.
And I
And
just
she, of course,
wasted that.
had a
The mic was off. Typical. One of these days, I'll learn the shortcut keys. Uh, I think he's talking about Anne Rule, the author. I think it's the stranger beside me. They worked for a nonprofit together. Yeah, several hours here and there during the week, taking phone calls from women in crisis situations. Sick.
far better opportunity to get to know me. I mean, I would have to.
Did you read that book?
No, I didn't.
What did you were comfortable with the insights and all?
I didn't read it, and again, I just don't, because you see, even though, bless her heart, she had an opportunity to know me, we knew each other for several years, and if anybody knew me during that period, if anybody knew me, okay, it was a lovely person that she is and was. We were only just, real remote friends. I mean, we never lived together. We only saw each other a few times over many, many years. No, saw me day in and day out and lived with me day in and day out for years.
Just for information, usually it's referred to quite frequently in the writings of your life as a person whom you cared about. Things just didn't work out for one reason or the other. Truly, I don't know if this,
That's-
in absence of you having opportunity to read them, that's why.
I've read parts of them. I'm not going to go into this. I've read parts of them, and I'm aware that they've made that characterization, and that they've also, there are a lot of psychological theories about Ted Bundy, which are just a bunch of bullshit, it doesn't bother me, but people who read them and believe them are going to be misled if they think, for example, that and I somehow broke up and this was such a traumatic episode in my life that I just went off the deep end. Well, that's simply not true. That's simply totally, completely not true. And I don't care what anybody believes in me or not. I mean, I know in my heart, and I can tell you that, not that it's important necessarily in retrospect, but knew me. Now, whether or not when she sat down to write her memoirs, she put in there the way it really was. Because you see, by the time she wrote the book, the Ted Bundy she was confronted with, at least in the public consciousness, was something different. So I think a lot of people, former friends and even relatives, are a little bit leery. Did I really know him? And maybe their perceptions of me will change. You've seen this. Well, yeah, I saw that in him. I could tell when he was 5 years old, because people don't want to feel like they've been fooled, or people don't want to feel like like they've known someone and yet they didn't know him. And so they'll figure out all sorts of things to say. Yeah, well, I could tell that he was capable of that because he didn't open the door for me one time.
You didn't kick the cat.
Yeah, kick the cat. There's this one, I think somebody put it in their book. I heard this. I used to jump out from behind bushes.
Okay.
and scare and I also used to walk on railroad tracks to see how long I could walk on the rails without falling off. I mean, come on, give me a break. Jumping out from behind bushes was never my thing. When it came to, it was just a playful, childish thing that I did. Is like when I was in the shower, I'd sometimes throw a cup of cold water to get her out of the shower. So there's a lot of myth and about misunderstanding about, I guess, everything, and
But it sells.
it sells, and unfortunately, though, I think it creates a problem. Misconceptions, I think, go deeper, and maybe I think that I'm sure that there are people in law enforcement or psychologists who are trying to become more knowledgeable about this kind of thing, who read these and take them as fact. And I think they're misled. I think really the only approach to be taken is your approach, in a systemized way. Gather the evidence without any preconceptions and without all the theories that are proposed in the media or in books.
Of course, you haven't read our book yet.
And of course, the mic's muted again. Dang it, this has been a difficult one. I'm going to cut it there. We'll pick it up on the second video. I think it'll end up being 3 or so. It's just easier for, I think, people to digest than trying to listen to like an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, of this. So, all right. Thanks. Hit subscribe, like, comment, etc. Again, this is Chris with Bama Law. I'm out.